put a picture of her?
Yeah, I'm about to run.
This whole thing that happened with this girl.
Oh yeah.
I'll just say like what happened for me. I woke up and my family group text thread had hundreds, almost hundreds of text messages. And I didn't even have to go that deep before I saw the rhetoric, the conversation that was happening. And what struck me the most was what was a serious, like, earnest questioning that really just spoke to an attempt to justify a murder. And as someone who has lost people to gun violence, I really cannot. That's fine, babe. Just leave it like that.
Okay, like I got it. You want?
I really can't stomach it. And so I'm glad you watched the video and got all the information after you saw me going through what I was going through. To kind of go through this, but just on a general like tip, I'm not about a lack of compassion, particularly for Black children and particularly for Black children who happen to be females, because it's a very particular intersection of life experience and targeting that happens like for everyone. I believe that oppression really targets everyone. I believe that our current system of capitalism is propped up by the isolation of different peoples, by the politicizing of people's lived experience by way of their identities. And you know, that's not lost on me. I mean, it's useful to an extent and it's useless to an extent. But the reality that I'm never going to be able to get away from is what my experience of life is like. And regardless of how people internalize identity politics, I live with being targeted a certain way for being a female and being Black. And so many other things. And like I always say in my hip hop class, we are the primary sources of our own experiences in our life. And it's too common that people are very comfortable with dictating something to us about us. And the consequences of that can become life and death. And that's something that we see with this young girl. And, you know, I'm here to push humanity and humility and compassion, because that's the most important thing about us coexisting and sharing this space together. To me, we don't live independently of one another, and this incident is not an isolated incident. It's not an isolated incident in the fact that her story mirrors so many other people's story. And it's not an isolated incident, which Najee is going to get into, about somebody who had a weapon and was approached by police. But the outcome of that is always slanted. I'll just leave it there. That's all I want to say about why I'm glad that we're talking about this. Khia Bryant, so many other people have been killed on the heels of this trial of something that hasn't happened before. We haven't seen people who are in this job title actually be criminalized, really. Though they commit criminal acts all the time, though they break laws all the time, there's something about that authority, that uniform, that badge, really the whole system, and how it props the system how it serves and protects whatever it's supposed to serve and protect, which is a whole nother thing that we're going to get into. That makes it like we don't have no common sense. Because if the answer to solving a problem that is popping up in front of me is to shoot, I don't need to call no police to be a hitman. I'm stop.